Okay, so hi everyone. For those of you I haven't met, I see a couple of faces and names that I recognize, either from classes or from the applications. I'm Dr. Polly Mangerson. I am the director of the French language program, and I'm also an associate professor of French here at DePaul. And I want to take 10 to 15 minutes to talk to you about this study abroad program. I appreciate everyone's interest, and I love the enthusiasm that we have going. And Matthew's here. Yay. You're just in time to introduce yourself.
So I'm Matthew Brejon. I'm French, professor of history at DePaul University in the Department of Catholic Studies. And I'm also the Holtschneider Chair of Vincentian Studies, which means everything that deals with Vincent de Paul. So that's part of the trip. Nice to meet you.
Scott, did you have anything to say before I share my screen?
No, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Scott Ozorowski. I work in the study abroad office, and while the two of them are the ones that will lead the group to France, I'll be the one behind the scenes here in Chicago, helping with a lot of the logistics and having a lot of email communication with all of you as we get ready in the months ahead. So, all right, welcome.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? Give me thumbs in the air if you are. Yes, wonderful. Okay, so Mathieu and I would like to take a few minutes to speak to you about what this program is, and then we'd like to leave most of the time for your questions, whether you want to ask those here in the session, put them in the chat if you're not able to speak. So the name of this program is Vincentian Legacies, Urban Experiences, and Food Culture in Paris and the South. This is the second year that we'll be doing this short-term study abroad program to France. And as you can tell by the title, it's a bit of a mashup, which we like it that way, of we're at the same time delving into Vincent de Paul and his legacy in France. And we're doing that kind of through the lens of food and food culture. So the way that we've already introduced ourselves, hang on, let me make sure I can advance my PowerPoint. Yes, but here we are again. So Mathieu and I worked together. We put this program together for 2022. So this is the second year we'll be leading it together. It might not be evident from the Zoom, but he's actually in France right now. So we're coming at you live from both sides of the Atlantic. That being said, even though we're in two different continents, we work very closely together on this program. And so the two courses, because one thing to remember is that this is a study abroad program. So we're not just taking a 2-week trip to France, even though that's a big part of it. So it's one course in the fall and one course in the winter, is the way that this will work on your DPR. So you take an in-person class with me in fall 2023, and this is called Terroir du Sud. Don't worry, it's in English. Land, Food, and Life in the South of France. It meets in person Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 to 11:10. We meet in a trimodal classroom because Mathieu will zoom in for a couple of sessions to also do some intro sessions for Catholic Studies 290. And my course is really about the connection between food and culture. We're going to kind of look at at France as far as some of those classic dishes that we know of being part of, classy, fancy French cuisine, and how so many of them have humble origins, born out of necessity, out of what was available, and how this has come to become kind of French haute cuisine as we know it, and specifically how it's connected to people. My course is a bilingual course, so that means that it's taught in English and French. Last year we took exactly half and half, people who were taking this course for SCBI credit, or people who were taking it for 200 level credit towards a French major or minor. And we plan to do, we hope to do the same again this year. So we have a bilingual classroom where we do a lot of things together as a big group, but we also do split into language groups at least once a week so that those who are taking class in French can practice their French. And Mathieu, did you want to say a couple words about your class?
Yeah, so my class will be an online class during the winter. So the idea is to come back to what you experience on the ground and go maybe deeper into the knowledge of Vincent de Paul and his legacy. So we will travel to different cities. Maybe we'll talk about that later, in Paris, Lyon, and Marseille. And each one of those cities is related to food culture, of course, but also to Vincentian legacy. So it's a way to to visit, different churches, museums, sites, meet also with people related to Vincent de Paul legacies. And I think at this last year, and in this course that I also teach without, doing the study abroad trip, students like to know more about Vincent de Paul, about Vinny, especially after a few years in that university. So I think that works well.
And a quick note here, winter 24, it should be. We won't go back in
sorry.
time and take class last winter.
That was me. But what's nice is that, you do have one class that's in person and the other that's online. So it does allow you during that winter quarter to self-pace, and that there won't be any formal meetings following our time on site. So trip. Where are we going? How long are we staying in each place? So we'll start in Paris, and we're going to spend approximately 5 nights, 6 days, discovering Paris. From there, we take the regional train to Lyon. So if you can see my cursor here, not sure if you can, which is in the Rhone Valley. And then we spend 3 days in Lyon, and then we travel by private bus down the Rhone Valley to Marseille. On the coast of the Mediterranean. These are the 3 largest cities in France, respectively. So that's where the urban experiences part of the title comes from. And then we will be doing from Marseille, we're going to have a day trip to Aix-en-Provence. And from Paris, we'll also be having a day trip to Versailles. Neither of those are very far away. So we'll be traveling by train a lot, and then by metro a good bit, and we walk a ton. So just be forewarned, everyone, you will walk a lot. And you will love it. So we go 5 days, 3 days, 3 days, and then we take the high-speed train back up to Paris for the last night, and that's the formal end of the program. We're doing things a little bit differently from last year, whereas we're letting students purchase their own flights. We'll be there to assist you for those of you who would like support in purchasing your flight. But that way, we had a lot of students last year who wanted to stay after or wanted to go earlier, and that will give you an opportunity to be able to do that. Here I am. So for Paris, Mathieu, do you want to talk a little bit about our living arrangements in Paris?
Yeah, so that's a picture of what is known as the mother house of the Vincentians. So the Vincentians are the priests and brothers founded by Vincent de Paul. So that's still their place in Paris. That's just in the middle of Paris with a garden, and it's I think located in the center of Paris, so that allows us, to visit Paris very easily. You will have shared rooms with 2 or 3 or 4 of you. They all have their own bathroom. They have been renovated last year, 2 years ago. So that's maybe more simple than a hostel, but it's quite inexpensive, and that helps also to make this trip not too expensive. And Polly, what do you think about the place?
I love it. It was my first time last year staying in religious housing. So in 2 of the 3 cities we'll be visiting, we stay in religious housing. Don't worry, that doesn't mean that you have to be Catholic or you get kicked out. It just means that it's a little bit more dorm style. It's simple, but it's clean, and it's fantastically located in Paris. And so I'm very happy to be staying there again. But thanks to Mathieu's connections with the Vincentians, we get to have very affordable lodging, which is great because it allows us to eat in some really nice restaurants and go to a lot of places when we're not sleeping. So then I've got a couple of photos from Paris week last year. So the one on the left is Versailles. So we do a half-day trip to the Palace of Versailles. And then in the middle is the Jardin de Luxembourg, so the Luxembourg Gardens, which is part of one of our walking tours, because it was an important site for Frédéric Ozanam in the 19th century. And then on the right, it's a huge picture of my head, but it was the best I could find of our whole group at the Louvre, where we actually visit some very specific paintings having to do with both Vincentian legacies and food culture in the Louvre. And then we allow all the students to disperse off and visit whatever you like while you're there. Another important part of our time in Paris is that we do a cooking workshop with a French chef whose name is Sue. She's right here and she's lovely, where students go to the market, buy everything we need, and create a 3-course meal together. And on the other side of that, we also engage in direct service work. in a soup kitchen called L'Ami de Pain, which is on the right, where we together serve a meal to homeless people who are staying at L'Ami de Pain. Mathieu, anything to add from Paris?
Maybe a word about that. We know that, when you want to visit Paris, you want to go to Versailles, to the Louvre, to the main iconic places. So with Polly, we try to connect, history, food culture with those places and to add, something specific to the program, but we will visit those places. About the soup kitchen, one of the ideas also of this program is to discover Vincentian legacy also through, a more contemporary eyes. And Paris is not only, a touristic place, a beautiful place, it's also a place with real people and poor people. So the idea is to engage also in direct service in a Vincentian way. So as it can be a bit maybe surprising, or you could be also frightened to do that. So we will have a first direct service in Chicago. So we will prepare you to do that. To serve food, so in a place with people in a language and then we will also do that in Paris. And it was a great experience to be at that place, to know about the history and to serve those people like the one you can see on the picture.
Great, thank you. Moving on, hang on, back down here. Okay, so from Paris, we leave and go to Lyon, which is a city that is not as frequently visited by Americans as Paris is. It's in southeastern France, and it's very well known for gastronomy, for being the capital of gastronomy. And it's also an ancient Roman city, so it's very rich in history and in culture. So a lot of the activities that we do in Lyon are kind of touching on those two important parts of the city. And we stay in a hotel in Lyon, and it's right located in the middle of the city center, which is walking distance to everything. So a couple of the activities that we do here on the left, you can see this is when we visited the Roman theaters from the ancient city of Lugdunum that was there several thousand years ago. In the middle is from a lunch that we eat at the Paul Bocuse Cooking Institute, which is such a treat. And then on the right is where we take a tour of Old Lyon, of the medieval and Renaissance city center. And those tours are guided in both English and in French by people who live there, not by us, because a part of the charm and the interesting aspect of Old Lyon is that it's got these hidden passageways called traboules that used to be used for silk workers to get quickly from one place to another, but more recently were used during the resistance of World War II as a way to travel or to kind of send messages and supplies without the occupiers knowing. Mathieu, anything to add on Lyon?
So Lyon is also the place where lived Frédéric and Amélie Ozanam. So you will know that I'm in love of those two people from the 19th century. And Ozanam was a student at the Sorbonne, then a professor, and he started the Society of St. Vincent de Paul to visit the poor and to take care of them. And he's still very well known in France and in the world. So that's also a way to experience this city through his eyes and to discover the 19th century Lyons.
If you come on this trip, you will know everything about Frédéric Ozanam by the end. Mathieu has made me obsessed too. So from Lyon, we leave and go to Marseille. And Marseille is a city that looks like no other city that we're going to be visiting in France. As you can see, it's on the Mediterranean. It's a port city. So naturally, it's got a very different geography, climate, cuisine than the other two cities that we're visiting. Anyone who are literature nerds on the right is the Chateau d'If, which is where the Count of Monte Cristo was imprisoned, where you can see from the harbor. Here, again, we do stay in religious housing. We've got a lovely little, we called it summer camp because it's very basic, but it's on a lovely hill overlooking the Mediterranean with a garden with very easy access to downtown. And we'll spend time going around the port. We're also going to visit some sites that were important for Vincent de Paul, who was ministering to galley slaves during this time, during the 17th century. And we're also going to, as far as the food culture goes, it's heavily influenced because Marseille is a port city from North Africa, from Italy, and from the sea. So that's kind of the angle that we take there. And photos, here we are at Notre Dame de la Garde, which is the church that sits on the top and overlooks all of Marseille. In the middle is from the market, we go to visit the citywide market at Aix-en-Provence, which is about a 20-minute train ride away. And then on the right is some of the streets of Marseille during one of the walking tours that Mathieu leads. Anything to add here?
For those who like wines, we also drink very fine wines, but you didn't put a picture of them.
I didn't put a picture of our wine tasting, but the olives looked so much prettier. That was a better picture that I had. So, and so from there, then we head back to Paris, back to the mother house, and either for students to continue on to back to Chicago or to continue exploring Europe. I'll probably be accompanying a group back to Chicago on the way home. So Scott, do you want to take over and talk about some logistics here, and then we can open it up for questions?
Sounds great. Yep, got a couple slides here on the application process and on cost. I know a number of you have already started your applications, and some of you have actually already submitted them, so that is great. For those who have not, May 1st is the application deadline, so you definitely want to get everything in by May 1st. For that process, if you haven't started it yet, you just go to the home page on our Study Abroad website for this program. You're going to see a blue Apply Now button. Click on that button and you'll start your application. It's a pretty simple application questionnaire. There's a handful of questions about why you want to do the program, what you're looking to get from it. And then we've got a question on there about, backup programs if you need a second choice program, but you just sort of fill out that application and then save it and make sure to hit the blue submit button. And then once you've done that, you're good to go. What will happen is after May 1st, Polly and Mathieu will be scheduling some brief interviews with everybody who has applied, typically in small groups. It's not like a high pressure situation, but it's just a way to just sort of quickly get to know each other. So they will be in touch to set those up with you, which I'm assuming you're going to do on Zoom because Mathieu is in France. So there will be some links to sign up for a slot for those interviews.
I don't know, Scott. I think you should just ask him to come back.
That would be great. Come on back for the interviews.
He was just here last week.
And so in terms of scholarships, I'm going to talk about cost in a moment, but there is no separate application for scholarships. As long as you submit your application for the program by May 1st, you will automatically be considered for scholarship funding for our big Study Abroad Scholarship Fund. The students that do get awarded average awards, they can range anywhere from $800 up to almost the full cost of the program, which we'll talk about in a minute. We use two main criteria when we're awarding scholarships, and that is financial need and academics. So we are in touch with the financial aid office to find out your FAFSA status and your financial need from them. And then we also look at your GPA. So somebody who has a very strong GPA and a very high financial need is going to be the most likely to get a larger award. And we do our best to try to distribute those funds as much as we can to help as many students who need it. We also do have a lot of external other scholarships that are outside of DePaul or other scholarships within DePaul for certain majors or certain colleges. So definitely take a look on our scholarship page. We have links to all of those. So, if you are a history major, there's a scholarship for a history major that you could apply for. Different majors and different colleges have got some things that you might qualify for. So take a look. And those would be ones that you would typically have to apply for through Scholarship Connect or through an external process through whatever that scholarship is. But for the general Study Abroad Scholarship Fund, no extra application. What will happen is after all the interviews and applications in sort of mid to late May, we will then let everybody know who has been accepted. And at that time, within a day or two after that, we also let you know as well if you've gotten a scholarship, and if so, how much that scholarship is for, so you can help make your final decision. Once you do get accepted, you'll basically have a couple of weeks we'll give you to make your final decision. So if at that point you don't get enough scholarship funding or your plans change, you just say, no, thank you, I'm not able to do it. And that's totally fine. But hopefully many of you will say, great, we'd love to move forward. You say that you want to move forward. And then once we have everybody all set and committed and confirmed for the program, the study abroad office will actually register you in your class for fall. So you don't register yourself in the study abroad class. So you can either leave some room in your fall schedule, or you can register yourself in another backup class, and then once you get accepted to the program and we register you, you can drop that class, but we take care of that for you. Next slide. Yeah. Cost of the program. So the cost of the program this year is $2,350. What that includes is your accommodations for the whole program, all of your meals. A lot of those will be group meals, but we will also have moments in each city where you'll be distributed cash to be able to use towards funding your meals while you're there. All your activities and excursions, all of your on-site transportation during the program, as well as international travel and health and accident insurance, all of that is covered. The big difference this year, as Polly had mentioned, is that we are not including the round trip airfare in this. So if you're looking at multiple programs and you say, oh, wow, this France program is like super cheap compared to this other program, it's because you do have to take care of your own flight. But flights to Paris, there are a lot of very affordable flights. So it's still, even with the cost of a flight, is one of our less expensive programs, and it includes all of your meals as well. So aside from that flight, really the only other costs are just your personal spending money for the most part. All right. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty much all I need to know. Oh, and then also the 8 credit hours. So you'll take one class in the fall. Here, go back for 1 second.
Oh, okay.
One class in the fall, one class in the winter, as we mentioned. If you're an undergrad student, you just need to make sure that you stay at or under 18 credit hours. And if that is the case, then you won't have to pay extra tuition. Just like a regular quarter, if you go over 18 credit hours, you have to pay extra for those extra credits you take, and study abroad would be the same way. So either register yourself in 14 or less credits or 18 or less credits, and then know that you're going to drop a class, so that once we put you in that class, you'll stay at 18 or lower. You can go over 18. It just means you'll have to pay extra tuition for those extra credits. All right. And yeah, and then in terms of questions, if you have any questions after this, I'm the one to email if you've got kind of questions about the application process or logistical questions. But then either of your faculty leaders are the ones to email if you've got questions about the course, the travel, and they're happy to answer any questions you have. Those brief interviews that they'll do are also a nice chance for you to ask questions as well. So anything else to add, Polly or Mathieu, before we open it up for questions?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share so I can see everyone. Mathieu, did you want to talk about the other 10 things from Mission and Ministry, or later?
It's up to you. There is a scholarship from Mission and Ministry. It's about it's $500. So we have 10 scholarship for about 20 students. So that's a selective process. So we will just ask you a question, 1 or 2 questions in advance, so you can prepare that. It's just to check with you how much you are interested in Vincentian topics. So you can know nothing about Vincent de Paul right today, but just, you prepare your interview, you discuss with us, and we will give all those 10 scholarships. So the questions will come later when you will register.
So basically, it's good news that there's a little additional scholarship funding for this program, and thanks to our Division of Mission and Ministry for being able to have some extra funds to help support this.
Yes. And then my last comment would be, first of all, thank you to those of you who have already applied, who have expressed interest, who have emailed me or have emailed Mathieu, and we're very excited to lead this program again. I just do want to be upfront about the fact that we have received a large number of applications. And I want everybody who's interested to apply, but also to bear in mind that because we've received a very large applicant pool, we're able to take 22 students at the most. And so just in previous discussions, oh wait, we've got someone else coming in. Scott, can you let them in?
Yeah, on it.
Okay. The first, it's to kind of in order of priority, we do have 2 categories there. The first of which is that priority will be given to people who are either a declared French major or minor. That's because we do want to have an evenly split pool of French speakers and Anglophone speakers. That's very helpful for our group as we travel abroad. And for those of you who don't have any French yet, it is not a problem. We'd love that. I'm going to teach you a little bit in the fall. And maybe this can be where you start learning. And then also the other thing is that we will consider upperclassmen, just being that a lot of students' study abroad plans were interrupted by COVID, and we want to make sure that students who are upperclassmen definitely get the chance to study abroad during their undergrad. So those are definitely things we'll take into consideration as well as the interview. But yes, looking forward to meeting all of you. We will meet and speak with all of you. I just also want to say, in the event that we end up with a wait list, please apply again. And so yeah, we'd love your questions or any comments, anything you want to ask us.
And I'll say as well, in the application, there is a place to put what other programs you might be interested in. So if there is a waitlist situation, we'll do everything we can to try to potentially move you to another program that might have spots available that you're interested in, as well as, like Polly said, if you're able to apply again the following year, the next time it's offered, great as well. Yes, questions. You can just unmute, shout it out there, throw it in the chat if you need to. Yeah, the question about only applying to one program at a time. Yes, you can only apply to one program at a time, but in the application, one of the questions says, if there were not enough spots on this program, what would be other program or programs that you're interested in? So in your application, you can list some of those. And so then we would work with you on how that might work. Questions? Wow, did we just do such a thorough job that nobody
I don't
has any
know.
questions? We were so comprehensive, everybody.
The questions come after.
And if you do have a personal question that you'd like to kind of stick around and chat with us, you can do that as well. But let's see here, a question about the cost. Yeah, the $23.50 is the program fee. So that is not the cost of the classes. So the classes, though, are part of your regular tuition. They are just like any other class. So as long as you don't go over 18 credit hours in the fall and in the winter, including this study abroad class you'll take in fall and winter, it's no additional tuition. It's going to just look like your regular tuition bill. If you did take extra classes and this study abroad class put you over 18 credits, you would have to pay extra tuition. But hopefully you will plan with your academic advisor and this will be part of your load and you can keep it under 18 if you need to.
Yeah. And I would say that one thing when considering the cost is that we've made very sure to make this as comprehensive as possible. So with the exception of getting your own plane ticket, once you arrive on the ground in France, everything except for whatever personal spending you want to do is covered. Especially because a big part of this course is about food. We eat together at least once a day. And then we do give you guys some free time, a chance to explore. But as Scott explained, for the times that we're not going to be eating together as a group, you will receive cash distributions so that you'll have money to go out and get a meal on your own. Or if you just want to pick up a sandwich at the market that's across the street, then that is yours to keep. So we'll do cash distributions 3 times, once in Paris, once in Lyon, once in Marseille.
Couple questions there for Olivia about the interview process. It's nothing to get too stressed about. Basically, it's going to be a group of 4 or 5 people all at once for a half an hour, answering a few questions and just getting to know each other and asking questions. So very informal. And then in terms of flights, after you've been accepted, said you're going to do the program, we will send out a big email that's going to have a ton of very detailed information about what to do. But basically, the program is going to start on the 28th of December. And so we will let you know, like, make sure that you arrive by this time on this date. But it'll be on the 28th of December that flights will be arriving. So you'd probably
November, Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry, November, not December. November, 28th
Just
of November.
Thanksgiving.
No. And so you'd probably be wanting to leave on Monday, the 27th of November in order to get there, unless of course you were going to come a little early. But the plan would be that the housing will start that night of Tuesday, the 28th of November. So that's when you would arrive.
Yes. And another thing is that we're going to have a big...
And sorry, let me just say as well, and departing on Sunday, the 10th of December. That was the second half of the question. So I'm leaving, the program will end on the morning of December 10th.
Okay, I'm hopping back in, Scott. But another thing is that we're going to have a big spreadsheet with kind of everyone's travel plans and what we're hoping, and what I put into place with, and what Scott's put into place with other programs, is that we will have a few pre-selection flights, like, hey, this is the right dates, get there at the right time. If you're not planning on traveling before or after, this will be kind of, we'd love to have as many people from the group going as possible on the flights that we've pre-selected. And that way we will have a bus waiting for you, and either Machu or I or both of us will be waiting for you on the other side of security to take you to the mother house. So if you're like, oh my God, I've never traveled internationally before, how am I going to find this place in Paris? You don't have to. Like, one of us will, we will definitely support you getting there.
And the nice thing is you're going to have class sessions all through the fall. You're going to get to know each other. You're going to talk a lot about all of these details, all the logistics as you prepare to head over. So plenty of time to prepare.
Yes, we're doing lots of get to know you activities. Any other questions?
All right.
See, Elena, will we practice French for the soup kitchen day? Yes. We're going to have a specific, so there's going to be, so in case it hasn't been evident up until now, both Mathieu and I speak French and English. So we're going to, we spend a lot of time together as a big group, but there's a lot of time where I'll take an English speaking group and he'll take a French speaking group, or vice versa. That happens during the fall as well. So like last year we had a day where Mathieu flew in, he worked with the French speakers, and I did like a travel emergency French session with the English speakers. And then, so with that, for the French speakers specifically, we're going to do a vocabulary session on serving food to get you comfortable, to kind of get you ready for the conversations that you might be having there. Yes.
And for the others at the soup kitchen, usually the students are, divided in groups of two, one French speaker and one who doesn't speak French.
Yes,
and
who doesn't
so
speak French yet.
Yes, yet. And they can work together.
Yes, you get in, we do a lot where we're in Anglophone, Francophone pairs. But the students were really great last year about helping each other, and the students who hadn't had any French, or maybe who'd had some a few years ago in high school and didn't really remember it, everybody was really open to, learning a few words, to, to being polite global citizens and considerate travelers in another country with another language. So, but there will always be someone, whether it's Mathieu or myself or one of your classmates, who's there to help you too. So don't be intimidated about the language barrier.
Any other final questions? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. If you have not finished your application, like we said, get that in. If anyone does need to stick around for a question, feel free to email any of us, and we're happy to help. So thanks you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.